somebody bet you there was a sheetrock there, and if you didn't put your hand through the sheetrock, it'd cut your hand off. You would set up so solidly, you would go back like Peter Jacobson solidly. When you came up to that wall, you boom like that, and you want to take a photo of that, of where you are to push that hand through that sheetrock, and you'll notice your hips need to be this much open, your shoulders need to be this much open, your elbow needs to be right here, your wrist needs to be straight right there. That is the most powerful boom position you can get in golf, and you'll do it every time if you think about the sheetrock thing. You take your practice swings and you're back here, see where that brush was? Back here, and then you get up and expect to hit the ball well. You can just forget it. You've already missed it before you hit it, okay? There's no miracles that are going to happen. The average amateur gets up here, and he comes down here, and he goes like this. There's no crossover power, where a lot of pros, like a Tiger Woods, will get down here real deep, or Ben Hogan, real here, and then in just one little flash, they go, whoosh, and they get all that crossover power. That's where a lot of the power comes, by taking that thumb, getting it back to square at impact. Watch this area right here. You get right in here. There's just a little that. It's like that. And that's the Hogan move that he didn't really want to talk about. He called it supination. He was talking more on the left hand about that. You watch this tape over and over and over, you'll learn something new, and it'll open up a different door of knowledge to you every time you watch it, because this is not normal stuff. A lot of the stuff I'm teaching you is things that have not been talked about much, or not at all. So I believe it's true knowledge. I've worked it out in the ground, like Ben Hogan said. I've proven it in championship golf, in tournament level competition, and under the gun. So I'm giving you the whole deal, so I hope you enjoy it. The address position, the grip, and the swing. One take-through or the whole works, okay? So pay attention. The grip obviously is super important. It's the only thing holding onto the club. And I have a grip that I consider a neutral grip, where my hands fit sort of like that, and then I just, without changing my arm positions, I go ahead and grab the club. That allows me to have my arms hanging without twisting them in position on a strong grip, or putting them out here for a weak grip, just getting that neutral position. I put the left hand on right there, a lot like Ben Hogan said, right across the hand here, and then close it in. Puts my V here about at my right ear, thumb just a little on the right side of the club, not much. And then I take my right hand, and there's a groove right there in your right hand. It fits right on the thumb, goes right into this V that I have on my grip here, and I put my hands on right through that part of my hand there, right down there, and then I have one finger width right there. That's sort of important. This is a key part of your grip, I believe, for power, because that finger, John Daly, by the way, puts 2 finger widths there, more than anybody else. But if I was going to break this club in half, the shaft, and tried to do it with my finger this way, I could bend it that much right there. If I put it down as much as I do, I could bend it that much. If I put it like Daly, I could snap in half if I wanted. Now, I'm not saying to put it down that much, but at impact, it's pretty important. That's like a stabilizing force, that knuckle there, and it gives you a lot of feedback. So let that knuckle give you feedback in your swing all the way. As far as the address position, again, always put the ball pretty much where the club wants to drop, and where it drops is usually where your brush is. Did you notice that? In other words, if I get nice and relaxed and let my arms hang, that's where the ball, it seems like that's where the club wants to go, where it's supposed to. Don't go pushing it up here or out here. Let the club just drop, and that's how far you should play it away from you. You shouldn't play it out here. Shouldn't play it in here. Just extend your arms after you get in this position and drop them. That's where you should be. I said weight is 50-50, knees nice and flexed, a lot like you're going to jump. It's that same position, rear end out, and just move down into it so that you can reach the ground right there in your nice position, head up, okay? As far as first takeaway, you want to obviously have the face square to the target, by the way. You don't want it open or closed. Have the face square. Shaft angle pretty much 90 degrees to the target here. And if you do those things at address, you should have it in pretty good shape. You'll notice that when I let the club hang down, it's pretty straight line to my left arm. Pretty darn straight line. As far as the takeaway, there's a lot of ways to take it away, but I try to almost take away with the hip, shoulder, and the arm and the hand all in one motion, just sort of push away. I don't go hands and leave the body alone. To me, that takes away from the rhythm of the action. I try to let even my knee and hip, shoulder, arm, and hand all just sort of push away and turn nice and level. So the key position here is halfway back. Check that. Make sure that that club's extended sort of nice. If you want to add a little wrist like I do early, that's fine. And then that's your one key position. Check that. you'll notice your knee now has gone from here to here because you've loaded onto the right side. On the top, your wrist is the same position as you were at address, except for you've added a little bit of this. So watch me at the top of the backswing. I get right here, and now I've added this much wrist action to the ball. See, about a foot of wrist action right there. So you do add about a foot of wrist action here, and now coming down is pretty darn key. You notice my knee's over my right foot here. I'm coiled good. I've got my left shoulder behind the ball. My right side is tucked that way, pretty good. Got in here. You don't want to leave your right side in front of you. You're dead if you do that. You want that right side to go that way. Hip, shoulder, get deep here. Sets the club in position, and from here, it's sort of a falling position. Nicholas said from here, the next movement is a gravity move. You just gravity back to the halfway position. No power is given yet. Just very little. It's just gravity is doing a lot of work for you right here. It's picking up speed just through gravity, and now you're in the hitting position. You still have the 90 degrees here. You're in good position now. You haven't used a lot of body action yet, and now you're ready for that, what I call sort of a karate move, where in karate it's sort of a move, boom, and that's what happens in golf. You get it up here, you sort of delay things, the arms catch up, the arms are catching up to the body, and right about right here, now you're ready to make a good penetrating whoom and hit that wall. If you watch when you hit the wall, you have to go, you get about right here, and then it's whoom. So it's in this area that the body really comes alive. It's sort of settling in about right here into a squat position, and then about right here to penetrate into that wall, whoom. And that's where you want it. And you'll notice that the elbow's in. On impact, the elbow is right against that right hip. The knee is driven in. This knee's solid, and you've penetrated there. Nice straight left arm here. Face is square if you want to hit it straight. And then what you want to do here is figure out a way to penetrate through the ball. Penetrate. Watch. This is a good little drill here to just do that. Penetrate through there, and as soon as you get past your left leg, this is a key position here, square. Keep the face square a long time. Not a lot of timing involved. I don't believe in this stuff right here at impact. In other words, when it comes down, it squares up, it stays square for about that long, and then it releases and you cross over, and halfway through if you want, you can see your arms are crossed over, the left wrist is still solid, right there, hip high, and then from here right to a nice high follow through with that same good follow through. The right shoulder should be now about over the left foot. If you're seeing your right shoulder here, you're going to have weight here, back here. If you want to make the weight get over to the left side, the only way you can do it is by taking this right side and putting it over by the left foot. That way you can do this all day. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a moment and look at some swings. You may not know it, but a golf swing lasts less than 2 seconds. When I hit my driver, the club head is traveling at over 110 miles per hour at impact. That's a little fast for the human eye to see. So to give you a good look at the mechanics of the swing, we've shot some special high-speed film. Film is normally shot at 24 frames per second. These shots were taken at 500 frames per second. At this speed, you can really see the key components of a good swing. You can even get a look at what happens at impact. Impact is the most important and least discussed part of the golf swing. Have you ever wondered why there are so many different swings on the PGA Tour that get good results? It's simple. All that matters is impact. I've studied impact so carefully that I feel like I should have my PhD in it. Believe it or not, I can actually feel impact. When I take my address position, I like to imagine that there's a wall running up from the ball. Then I place my right hand open and the palm on the wall. And then what I want to do is just take a nice level swing and then deliver a heavy blow onto the wall, and then look and see where all my angles are, where my right elbow's pointing, where the right wrist is, how open the shoulders are, about 20 degrees open to the target line, and study where truly square is. When you deliver that heavy blow onto the wall, you'll see where your body position has to be to deliver that heavy blow, and it's so important that you imprint these positions on your mind, and then you're well on your way to becoming a player, not just a golfer.
I do a lot of clinics and pro-ams all over the country, and really most golfers slice the ball, and I want to put you at ease a little bit with that bit of a problem that you're in, and you just need to know that a right-handed golfer hitting the ball, or even a left-handed golfer, just the way the good Lord put you together and the way your muscles line up, when you get it up here, you're in such a position that all these muscles here, your tricep, your deltoid, your latissimus dorsi here, your trapezius, all these muscles, the stretch on them, the way it happens when you get up here is they want to fire, and what happens is when you fire those, and it's human nature to want to hit the ball hard, it's just we're almost designed to slice the ball. It's like when you play a backhand in tennis. When you haven't played tennis before, you take the tennis racket back. Of course, you pull with all those same muscles, and the ball goes right over the fence off the tennis court. It's just the way it is. What you need to do is learn how to play that cross court like in tennis. You need to learn to square the club face up, and you need to learn to discover the left side of the range. And that's the name of this little tip, is learning to hit on the left side of the range. What I'm going to talk about now really has a lot to do with impact and how the positions that your hand and elbows are in add impact to be able to square up that face and even turn the club over and draw the ball if you just can't do it the normal way. So slow motion wise, watch what happens. At impact here, if you're coming right down here, this is a neutral position right here. If you keep pulling and nothing happens, do you see what you end up with? So somewhere in here on a normal neutral grip, and I haven't altered the club face because some people are dead shut at the top, like Lee Trevino when he was younger. He would start here, just so you know it, and at the top, watch this, he would take the club back here, and that's where he is, and you see where the club face is if he doesn't change anything? So for him, he doesn't have to do what I'm going to teach you now. But for those of you that grip the club normal, take it to the top, which is still square, by the way. Do you see this? The still square, the club's still square. Somewhere in here, if you're going to learn to draw the ball without really having a funny gripper, so get in here and something has got to change. You cannot keep pulling and moving, it's just not going to draw. So what you have to do, watch in slow motion what happens with the hand action. Just focus in the hand. You get right here to hip high, elbows on the side, and when you draw it, you come right down here. Watch this area right here. You get right in here, there's just a little it's like that. And that's the Hogan move that he didn't really want to talk about. He called it supination. He was talking more on the left hand about that. But that right hand gets in here, and instead of palming up, and a lot of people, they get here and they hit up on it, and you see where the palm is? This is death. This is hit behind it, top it, hit it to the right, add loft, go nowhere type of action, okay? What the pros do is they get in here, and this hand goes back to square, which is on the wall now. It looks like it's over, but it's not. It's on the wall. And if you want to draw the ball, you actually almost have to cover more, and that's put in that position there. So right here, I'm neutral, and then the elbow still stays in tight. This is important. You don't hook it this way. That's a pull hook. You want the elbow to stay in tight, and you get right in here, and that's square. And then if you want to hit the left side of the range, you actually palm down here, elbow still in. And another way of thinking it is this left thumb. I want you to think of this. Your thumb starts at the ball. It doesn't matter what kind of grip you have, that thumb is going to point at the ball. And when you go back, everybody's way over here, and you're coming down here, and boy, this thumb now has got a lot of work to do to get back to that ball when you get down in here. So you got to know that it doesn't keep staying here. If your thumb hangs back here, pointing there, you're going to be a slicer, or a push slicer. You got to know that a lot of the power in golf comes from the thumbs here, and then in just this much time, it goes whoom, and the club moves 5 feet. That's where the pros get all that power you don't see, is because the average amateur gets up here, and he comes down here, and he goes like this. There's no crossover power, where a lot of pros, like a Tiger Woods, will get down here real deep, or Ben Hogan, real here, and then in just one little flash, they go whoo, and they get all that crossover power. That's where a lot of the power comes, by taking that thumb, getting it back to square at impact, or if you draw it, making the thumb actually get ahead of the ball at impact, and that's a draw, and then you hit that way, okay? Another way of thinking about it is when you come in here is try to palm up with the left hand. Instead of palming this way, which makes the ball go over that way, is if you come in here and palm up here early, real early, palm this way, the ball's going to draw. You're going to hook the ball. Another way to look at it is what most people do is I pretend there's an arrow going right through my wrist. There's a hole in your wrist here. It points pretty much at the ball, okay? Pointing right at the ball. What most people do is the arrow now, of course, is pointing right here. Somewhere when you get in here, you got to get that arrowhead now to go back to the ball or even lead. And so what you want to do is lead with this part of your wrist and have this part behind. What most of you do is you're leading big time with this part, hang back, which helps square up the club face. Or right at the last minute, you just flip the club like that. And of course, like I said, you're going to hit up on the ball or hit behind it or something from there, and that's not a good way. So watch this. I'm going to try to hit a few of these. I'm going to make that arrow point right at the ball, thumb point at the ball. Come down here, I'm waiting, and then I'm going to hit the left side of the range by almost leading that way. And overdo it at first. Palm it down too much at first. And watch what you do. What I'll do is I'll get right in here. Watch this, right here, here, turn it over. You see, and now you see that ball hooking right at the pin right there, just right on the money. I can overdo it and hit it more that way. Same motion, my elbow's in tight here, and then I'm here, more. And I can just turn it over more. And of course it helps. If the club's leaning this way, of course, the ball's going to hook more than normal. If you really cross it over, you'll end up with the club way over here. It looks sort of bad, but it does keep the ball going left. And those are all little drills that you can do to make the ball hook. And I tell people in clinics, I get everybody there, hundreds of people sometimes, and I guarantee there isn't one person that I can't, within 1 minute, make them draw the ball or hook the ball. And not a pull hook. Pull hooks don't count. Start the ball where you're aiming just by either covering it up there like this or get that thought, or sometimes I'll grab the wrist and turn it like that. And by the way, I'm not going to talk about putting in this tape, but this is the way Crenshaw putts, by the way. It's like somebody has a little helper right there, and when he putts here, he leads with this part of the wrist, sort of like Hogan was talking about supinating. And of course, when we putt bad, we do just the opposite. We stop or collapse here, and if anything, this side of the wrist leads. And what Crenshaw does is he leads this way and almost putts a heavy ball, I call it. When he putts, he makes the ball go down. And of course, when you putt this way, palm up, the ball gets light. And so that's my only putting tip, so you just got it. Well, that's not too bad a shot right there. In case you're wondering, that was a 5-iron that went about 165 yards, and you might even be wondering even more, why the heck was I hitting it one-handed? And it really goes back to when I was about 12 years old. I never forget, I was in the back of the driving range of the San Francisco club. A little bit of inspiration came to me that I needed to build up that left arm and left wrist and all the muscles on the left side of my body so that I could hit that consistent fade shot or straight shot that I wanted, and be strong enough so that I wouldn't have problems hooking the ball, especially under pressure. And I hit hundreds of balls as a little kid there. I had an interesting philosophy, and I think it came from my father, that he said if you want to be the best in anything, and especially golf, you got to be willing to do things none of the rest of the kids are willing to do. You got to be willing to do creative things and experiment and try things and learn from your mistakes and from trying to go a little one-off thinking. And so what you might catch in this tape is that the reason why I've come to some of the thought processes I've been able to tell you about is because I've been willing to learn from other players. I've been willing to go out of my own little shell, my one-line thinking, and hooking the ball, I think, comes from, believe it or not, an impact of being a little lazy. And really a lazy action will produce a hook that sort of turns down and doesn't have much spin on it. And to get rid of that, you want to feel like that your wrist right here is a hammer and that there's a nail there. There's a nail right there. And when you hit that ball, you want to be able to penetrate that nail into the wall. You don't want to hit it like it's going to hurt. You know, like, oh, I'm hoping it's going to hurt. That kind of swing is no good at all. When Hogan was talking about supination, he was talking about getting this here. It was like somebody had a helping hand right here. When you hit it, he drove that part of the wrist through the ball, and I call it sort of a heavy hit. He produced a heavy hit because of that, and there was no giving, there was no absorption of power, there was no getting the ball in the club face and adding loft to it, which takes away power and accuracy. So you want at the bottom to get rid of that hook. You want to set your angle. Even if you're strong here, you want to set your angle and keep that angle penetrating through, or if you're here, penetrate through. If you're weak, penetrate through, and that way if your draw does draw, it'll just be a small little hook. It'll be a hook that you like, not one of these wipe slap hooks, okay? So that's one way to get rid of a hook that I know works. Another way would probably be to open your stance just a little bit, take it back slow as we talked about before on tempo on how to slice the ball. Take it back just a little slower and get a little more speed down at the bottom. The last drill, which really is the best one of all, I think, and this is what I do when I'm drawing the ball too much, here's what I do. It's really so simple, it's unbelievable. Here's what I do. I just take it back right here, and right there I stop at the club face square and hold it for 2 or 3 seconds, and even look at my knee action, look at where my elbow's pointing when the club face is square, make an imprint like a click in my mind, and then I just quickly get up and just do the same thing, boom, right at the bottom, and that ball is not going to hook, okay? When you hook, watch what happens when you hook. Watch what the handle does. The handle has a tendency to sort of pop up and over, and that's a slap hook, okay? You don't want to do that. You don't want to be cupping it this way either. The other thing, I can't stop until I show you this. This right elbow really determines a lot about how the shot's gonna fly, okay? If this elbow, again, it's like there's a rod here. This elbow comes down and stops, and then you release here, you're gonna be a hooker, okay? If this elbow has a lot of penetration in here, that's going to be pretty straight. If you do like Trevino where you really lead, you're going to hit a push cut. Okay, so this elbow has a lot to do with it. The other thing is if this elbow pops out, you're going to pull hook it, okay? This elbow, it's so important when you hit the wall. It's important when you hit the wall, like somebody bet you there was a sheetrock there, and if you didn't put your hand through the sheetrock, it'd cut your hand off. You would set up so solidly, you would go back like Peter Jacobs and solidly. When you came up to that wall, you boom like that, and you want to take a photo of that, of where you are to push that hand through that sheetrock, and you'll notice your hips need to be this much open, your shoulders need to be this much open, your elbow needs to be right here, your wrist needs to be straight right there. That is the most powerful boom position you can get in golf, and you'll do it every time if you think about the sheetrock thing. You know, people say, well, where should my hips be, or where should I be when I hit the ball? If you just think, I got to put it through, otherwise I cut my hand off, I guarantee you'll be in that perfect position where you need to be. When you hook it, your elbow's probably trailing, or your body stops and you're hitting this way, or you're trying to hit too much with the hands. So think about the wall, the sheetrock, and a couple of those other tips, and especially that one where you stop after impact. Take the picture in your mind of where square is after there, and then get in quickly and hit it. And the reason why I go crazy on this subject is because I have trouble at times hooking the ball. So those are the things I go through real quickly, and if I do that, go through that checklist, I can stop that thing right now. It's a beauty. Well, does that remind you of you? You know, a lot of times when you're trying to hit those fairway woods, especially the long irons, you have nothing but trouble either hitting the ball thin, topping it, or hitting behind it. And believe it or not, even in my, if you call them glory days in the 70s, I had the kind of swing that I had trouble hitting it a little thin and a little heavy all the time. And it wasn't until I really adopted a very level swing, I call it my Peter Jacobson level swing, and incorporating the brush drill that I have been doing for about 15 years now, that I got out of that. And now I don't have any trouble hitting the ball. I hit it crisp every time, it seems like, because I've worked on this drill for so many years. And I'd like to show you this brush drill, this level drill. You can see you don't want that to happen to you right there. But let's take a look at this right here. I tell people, if you can't brush it, you can't play. I mean, it's that easy. if you get up over the ball and you take your practice swings, watch this, I'm right here, and you take your practice swings and you're back here, see where that brush was? Back here, and then you get up and expect to hit the ball well, you can just forget it. You've already missed it before you hit it, okay? There's no miracles that are going to happen usually when you get over the ball. That's why it's so important that when you get over the ball, that when you take your practice swing or half swing, that your brush, can you see how that brush was right where it was supposed to be? Right? Perfect. It just started right there, right even with the ball, and brushed afterwards. This brush drill, I believe, in this tape is the handiest drill that there is. It'll help your game quicker than anything I teach you because it's so important. You know, a lot of times you get on the driving range and maybe the range, on this range it looks like feels like it's tilted about that much from this way to this way. Well, after 6 or 8 balls, I adjust to that, and boy, I start hitting them flush as can be. And then I go on to the first hole, and I drive it right down the middle, and my first lie, the ball's sitting this way a couple inches, then the next hole it's that way, the next hole it's this way, next hole it's whatever, and you're hitting it fat and thin, and you think you're choking. You're not choking, it's just that you haven't learned to adjust to all the different terrains that's part of the game of golf. And that's why this brush drill is so important, because if you get a lie like this, and if you can't brush next to the ball, you're going to hit a bad shot. Same way if you get one of these lies. So when you get in there, and a lot of the pros do this, by the way, and I don't even think they really know what they're doing. They think they're loosening tension, which they are. They're feeling the club shaft, how flexible it is, the overall weight, the head weight. But the one thing you're doing when you do that little half swing brush is you're figuring out where the ground is. And I cannot tell you how important this drill is. Again, if you can just brush it, you can almost come quickly into it then and just brush it right off there. You just brush the ball right off the ground, and you don't have to worry about chunking it and making yourself look like a chop, and and don't embarrass yourself if there's a bunch of people around. A lot of times when I'm chipping over a bunker or chipping over a lake or hitting a 9-iron, so I'll just get in there quickly, do my brush. If I'm a little nervous, I'll just get in there quick and just go ahead and make that same swing. And I know I'm not going to chunk it in the lake or chunk it in the bunker. And that is really, really comforting, let me tell you. So again, try to swing level. And the more you do this brush, the beauty of it is if you can brush the grass, you'll get rid of this kind of swing action, and you'll get rid of this upswing action because you're not going to be able to brush where the ball is. So a lot of times practice with a tee if you want, and make a line if you can. Make a line on the grass. And what I do is with that line there, let's say the line is right in this area, is I'll brush going away just a little on this side of the line, and then when I come down I want to brush on that other side. See how that divot started right on the line and went afterwards? So if you can do that little drill, that'll really help you big time. So just remember, if you can't brush, you can't play. Oh, gee. If any of you guys hit that shot, I don't even want to call it a shank, but it was. It's funny, in my career I've only hit 2 shanks, and both of them were on national TV, and one of them determined the outcome of the Bing Crosby National Pro-Am. I was playing Pebble Beach with Jack Nicklaus, dead even going into the 16th hole. I drove it down there in perfect position, had a 7-iron just like the one I just hit, just like that shank there. I thought, well, I'll do this pretty little Tony Lima swing with a lot of knee action on this downslope, and I just made a nice pretty little swing and moved ahead of it and just shanked it right underneath a tree and had to chip it out and made a miraculous bogey actually, and Jack 3-putted number 17, went in the playoff, and then he buried the first extra hole of the playoff. But those shots never get out of your memory. I always said, and I said it on national TV not too long ago, that the toughest shot in golf is the shot after a shank. Because you got to go, oh my gosh, am I going to do it again? You could keep going around the green with a shank. But I really believe that shank is sort of a first cousin to a block slice, or a tension-filled slice. And I really believe that most people that shank it, when they go back, they create way too much tension in the left arm, and they just come down and they lock up, and the hosel's leading. And of course, when you get up here, and a hosel leads here, and you don't finish the shot, you really have a good chance for a shank. So if you get the tension out of your arms a little bit, and almost like you're going to go and let the air out right there. That really helps. And then the other thing that you really should work on if you're shanking the ball, and this really will help big time, as soon as you get down in here and hit the ball, feel like your follow through is a little flatter. Most people that shank come in here and they lock up, and their club's out in this area, out to the right more. They're just all locked up, okay? And I think that if you get right here and then finish your follow through and have your club back here over this way a little bit more, it'll really help you a lot in that shank. And just remember that probably the best thing you can do is to take care of that tension, and especially the tension will leave the face open. Of course, when the hosel is leading, you got a good chance to hit it. So do that little drill of squaring it up, or even trying to hook it for a while. If you're shanking, try to hook the ball, because if the toe leads, you're not going to shank it, okay? So try that. Try drawing the ball, try getting the tension out, try a little flatter follow through, and the shank hopefully will be gone forever. One of the biggest problems I see in golf swings, everywhere I see them, lies in this area right here. And it has to do with weight distribution, and has to do with no loading or swaying and staying. And let me explain those things. In weight distribution, your head weighs 15, 16, 17 pounds, believe it or not, and it's, you know, very heavy on top of a tripod, basically. So if you put your head here, your weight will be on your right foot. If you put it doesn't matter what else you do, you put your head here, your weight will be on your left foot. It's very important to know that your head always centers right there in your stance. When you hit a little short chip shot, your head is there. When you hit a driver, your head moves back and centers here. So on your wedge, you're here, and watch, when you go like this, you have to move your head so that it sits right in between your legs. And that gives you an athletic position, and a position you can turn and move. And that's what you want to do in the backswing. And so we're going to go now into no loading. What happens is once you get in this good athletic position, you'll see people, they'll put their head here, and then they won't load at all, and they just take it back like this and hit it. They try to hit it with all arms, so you end up with all arms because they never did load. Or let me show what loading is. What I think loading is you get your head here, and you see the angle your knee is in? You should have a little angle here. And when you load properly in the golf swing, is you brace this leg here, and when you go back, watch this, you drive while you're turning off the ball, and that knee should be on every shot, I believe, pretty much right over the top of that right foot. That means you've made a weight shift and you've loaded up. And when you get to the top of your backswing, that knee ought to feel like it's going to bust, and you should get a lot of crease in your pants right here. If you're going back and there's no tension in that knee or that upper part of your leg, you have not loaded, and you're missing out on a lot of easy power, okay? So what you want to do in your golf swing, you'll see, is my head will move. I'm right here now, but when I take it back, I will move off the ball and load up here, and that knee's over the top of the foot, and now I'm in a wound up position. It's like taking a rubber band and just turning it, and now with absolutely no effort, I can just let it go and I'll hit the ball a long ways. And that's what you want to do. So you want to load here, and then when you come back, that spring action that you've developed, you can just almost let it go and it'll come right back into the ball. And so one of the killer things you get in the golf swing, and I see it among amateurs, is that they sway past the top of the knee. They'll go up here, and then they stay, and of course you're going to hit way behind it or top it, or hit a dead left, or hit a wimpy slice. And if you're one of those guys that those are your four shots, thin, fat, wimpy slice, or nail it to the left, most likely you are probably swaying and staying. So I have a little drill that you can do. You don't need these two balls here, but I'll come over here and take a look at this right here. You can do this anytime. You don't need the two balls, like I said, but you can, all the time, you can watch your shadow with the sun behind you, and while another guy's hitting or something, you can practice some swings and just move off it a little, and then look down at the top and see if you're loaded up here, and you'll see that you've moved off it slightly, and then coming down, you'll just move a little bit back, but you stay behind the original position. It's really important to see that, and you don't want your head moving up and down, nice and level, boom. So it should just have a little swing of its own. It goes here, and then right back there. Watch this. Let's see if I can get it. So you'll notice that the follow through, after I hit it, it stay there a long time, and then the head comes up, and so I finish with a nice balanced follow through. So make sure that you your shot will almost tell you if you've come back. If you don't, you'll hit it fat or thin, like I said. But try to work and stay as still as you can, but make sure you load. Don't get so still that you just take it back like that. Make sure you have a definite move into that side here so that now you can drive through it. And that provides a nice rhythmic swing and a powerful swing. If you have trouble pushing and pulling your shots and playing a little bit of army golf, you know, left, right, left, you might want to look at different problem areas. Most golfers miss the ball before they actually take the club back. I always say to people, if I could caddy for them, they would probably improve 5 to 10 strokes just from ball position, helping them with their ball position, just getting them relaxed, maybe reading the greens and proper club selection. But as far as pushing and pulling the ball, if I set up on a perfect swing, this is my normal, again, my normal brush point. You see how I'm brushing right even with the ball, perfectly right on the ball. If I just take the same position here and make a perfect swing, but don't know that I'm playing the ball too far forward, and go ahead and make a swing, the ball will go perfectly hit, by the way, but it's gone 30 yards left of the target. That's just because I didn't put it in the right spot at address. Same thing could happen to me if I put the ball too far back in my stance. If I thought it was good, but really I was in this position, and I go ahead and make a nice swing at the target, the ball just goes straight right, and it doesn't slice, by the way. And the other one, the pull didn't hook. Those balls are just, that's a push and a pull. So a lot of times it's just because of your ball positions, either too far forward it makes you pull it, too far back it makes you push it. So make sure you put it on your brush point. When you take your practice swing, put it where that brush starts. That'll give you a chance to hit it correctly. If that is not the problem, if you got the ball put in the right position at address, you could be doing this. Here's how you can also push and pull the ball. You could set up nicely, sway off the ball, and stay there, and that of course is the same as playing the ball too far forward. You'll now hit the ball to the left. If you'll see, I'll set up here right at the pin, I'll sway off a little, stay there, and of course I pull the ball to the left because I never got back to where I started. That'll do it. And of course if you push the ball, you could be doing just the opposite, as you don't make any weight shift off the ball and you move in too much and the ball just goes straight right because your shaft angle got way ahead and you're way ahead of the ball, and of course the ball goes right off to the right. So I'm not telling you that timing's everything in this game, but once you get the ball in position correctly, established with your brush, the secret is obviously a good weight shift, but just remember, if you set up with this much shaft angle, if you return it pretty much to the same shaft angle, physics say it's going to be pretty darn straight, okay? If you get up here and sway off and then return it here, physics promise you it's over there. And if you set up right here and sway into it way too much like this, physics says it's going to go over there. So just know that law right there and that principle, and check out those different little things I told you, and you can get rid of that army golf. Wow, there's absolutely nothing in golf that thrills me more, really, than getting up to the driver, setting up like you're on a par 5, and then just nailing it, just getting every ounce of energy and flight and distance you can out of it. And that's what that shot right there was. That's without going crazy, that was a home run for Johnny Miller. And when I think of shots like that, the key to me is a level swing and a heavy blow or a heavy hit. And I'd like to get into that just a little bit right now. This little miniature sickle right here will show you how you want to swing to meet the ball solidly. And on the face of the club, you need to hit the center of it. You can't hit the top of the face, that'll lose power. You want to hit the bottom of it, that'll really lose a lot of power. So it's really important, depending on how high you want to tee it. And sometimes I actually take a pencil and pull the eraser off of it, and I'll stick it in the ground, and of course it's that high, and because I'm getting good at making a level swing because of this drill I've been doing, I can get even more power because I can set up with that real high tee a little bit more underneath it and really get a lot of power because of that up move. But on a normal tee, what I'm trying to do is set up set up like this, and I'm trying to make such a level swing. When I think of it, I think of Peter Jacobsen big time, because he is so level and just tick the top of that tee. Do you see how I did that? I was just trying to literally hit the top 16th of an inch, and because I'm getting good at that, I can actually hit that top 16th. And it's really important that you provide a nice level swing. And if you watch some of the guys on tour, they practice with the club up high to create a very level turn. The one thing you don't want to do is get this kind of a swing here, because you hit behind it, you hit up on it. Try to learn to swing like there's a little club welded to your sternum, and what you want to do is turn, fire. In fact, sometimes when I'm nervous and I got a tee shot, I'll get over, and right before I hit it, I'll actually lay the club down and I'll stick this here, and I'll just make sure that I swing level with that center of my chest. And that does the same thing here with the sickle. If you do that, it's a very efficient way to get power and perfect balance. The other thing I work on, and I was at the Callaway Testing Center, unbelievable amount of equipment to show you the accuracy you have, the carry you get, the amount of roll you get, the amount of spin, and how much distance, of course, that you get on a shot. And I was flailing away at it, trying to get the most club head speed I could on my drive, and I was getting up there over 110 miles an hour, maybe 114 miles an hour, and I was hitting them 260 yards, 265 yards, and then finally I decided to do something that my teacher, John Geertsen, had me work on when I was a little boy and when I got older, and that's keeping that elbow close to your right pec here and on your side. And I was just keeping it close and then delivering a heavy blow with this whole right side, right here, all this mass here, instead of just hitting it with my arms and speed like this. I just got it here, put it back on the chest here, and then hit it with these big muscles here. Instantly, I got 5 to 10 yards more distance, and no more club head speed, by the way. Same club head speed, but because I was attaching it to my right side, I was able to deliver what I call a heavy blow, where instead of the arms just going like this when you hit the ball, which doesn't seem heavy, but it is, all of a sudden I could take that driver and penetrate it through the ball and sort of let the ball know who's boss. And I'll tell you what, it really worked for me, and it'll work for you too. So get in there and gear up for impact, and when you come down, get that right side on that right arm and penetrate through it and then follow through. Don't just hit it with your arms and hands. And if you swing level and do that, you'll hit the ball more consistent, and you'll hit the ball longer and really with the same effort. Well, it's not my great big Bertha, but for the purpose I'm going to show you, this is a pretty handy little prop that I'm going to use. Obviously, it's a hockey stick, and if you've ever played with a professional hockey player, guys like Mario Lemieux, the other players I've seen, it's amazing the power and really even the accuracy that hockey players get, even baseball players, because they both are taught the same principle, and it's what I call lead and cover, or lead and release. And the hardest thing about golf, I think, is that most people, their idea of hitting a ball with, let's say, something like this, is they're hitting it this way. And if you watch the principle of hockey, is you get the puck on the stick here, and you're way ahead of it, and then you slap it. So in golf, it's the same way. Is you sort of feel like you're ahead of it. I tell my kids to lead and then cover. So it's lead and cover. And if you can lead real deep and then cover, and it's almost a snap, so you get it on here, and then snap. So get down deep, snap. And you'll think it goes to the right, but it won't as long as you get that lead snap. So it's lead snap. Now there's a lot of players that take the hands out of it, and it's very good when you're young and strong, but as you get older, those kind of players are usually home watching football games, okay? So if you want to last a little bit longer in this game, you're going to need more the lead and the hit. Those players last forever, okay, because there's a lot of power in that move. You get a little more quickness, and your hands usually don't go as you get older. As you get older, your turn will go, your arm speed will go, a lot of things go, but it seems like the guys that can learn to get that good deep lead, get down deep in here, deep here, and then release. those guys can play for a long time. Even when they're young, they play great golf. So get that sort of action where you feel like you get the puck on the stick here, and then slap it off. So it's lead and slap a little bit, and that really, really works good with the driver, 3-wood, on down to about the 5-iron. As you get in the shorter irons, you don't need to get as much release. Try that. Try the hockey action, and notice if you ever play with a good hockey player just how far and how accurately they hit the ball. They're naturals.
Okay, let's take a moment to quickly review the faults and cures that we've covered in this tape. We begin with the cures for the slice. Perhaps the most basic is to learn how to draw the ball. I can just see you rolling your eyes and saying, "Yeah, Johnny, if I could draw the ball, I wouldn't have a slice now, would I?" Well, don't worry. Anyone can learn to draw the ball. Here's how you do it. As you come into the ball, keep your right elbow in tight and make sure your right palm covers down at impact. If you cover with the right palm, the ball will turn to the left. Another good image is to make sure your thumb gets ahead of the ball at impact. If that thumb is ahead, you're going to hit a draw. Still, another good thought is to palm up with the left hand at impact. If you palm up early, the ball's got to hook. Finally, imagine there's an arrow going through your left wrist, pointing at the ball. Make sure that the arrow gets ahead of the ball at impact, and once again, the ball just has to go left. Now, I don't recommend that you try all these ideas at once. This is more like a menu. Just pick the concept that sort of clicks for you. And once you get to where you can hook the ball at will, just back off just a little bit and the ball will start going straight. And that's all there is to it. Now let's fix the hook. Lazy tempo can contribute to a hook, so take my hammer and nail image and learn to develop a heavy hit. The ball still might draw a little, but you'll be rid of those slap hooks. Just make sure your tempo is the same back and through, same amount of effort back and through. When I have a hook that I can't control, I have a great drill that works out on the golf course. As I take my practice swing, I stop the club face about 6 inches past the ball and make sure that it's square, that everything's square. And I hold that position for a couple of seconds so it imprints on my brain. And then I step up and just duplicate that position, and almost always goes straight and the hook's gone. Finally, make sure your right elbow is tight to your body. If your right elbow gets away, you're likely to pull hook, and that is nothing but trouble. As we talked about earlier, fat shots and thin shots can be traced to the same problem. Your swing just isn't level to the ground, so here's how to fix it. Use my brush drill. Draw a line on the ground and make sure your brush point hits the line over and over and over. Once you learn how to brush, you're well on your way to becoming a player. Like all golfers, I hate to talk about the dreaded shank, but I can give you some cures. Get the tension out of your arms so that you can get a good free swing. This will ensure that you release the club head. Another good tip is to feel your follow through is just a little bit flatter. Finally, you might work on drawing the ball. If the toe leads into the shot, there's almost no way you can shank it. Remember, a shank is a first cousin to a slice. Now we come to swing. Swing is caused by poor weight distribution. On your backswing, your weight gets outside of your right foot, which in turn makes it impossible for you to load and fire into the ball. You get an arm swing that just doesn't generate much power. What you want to do is make sure that your right knee doesn't get past your right foot. This will allow you to wind up and spring into the ball with a lot of power. To check yourself, try my shadow drill. Pushing and pulling are in some ways good problems to have because they're relatively easy to fix. If the ball's too far forward in your stance, you're likely to pull it, top it, or hit it fat. If it's too far back in your stance, you'll hit a push. So check your ball position. Just remember, with your long shots, the ball's pretty much off your left heel, and the ball moves back slightly with each club to the middle position with your wedge. Finally, pulling and pushing can be related to weight shift. If you sway off the ball and stay there, you're likely to pull the ball. If you move too far into the ball, too much weight shift, you're likely to push it. So make sure you get a good, smooth weight shift, one that allows you to return the club to the proper shaft angle at impact. To add power to your drives, try taking a smooth, level swing just like Peter Jacobsen. A good image is to imagine that there's a little club welded to your sternum. Just turn it and fire. Also, if you keep your right elbow in tight to your right side, this helps you to deliver a heavy blow with your whole right side. You don't just hit at the ball, you penetrate right through it. Well, that brings us to the end of this lesson. I don't want to sound immodest, but after 40 years in the game as a player, analyst, writer, and observer, I know that these ideas work. As Ben Hogan has said, I've proven them in the ground. So get out there and go to work. Spend some time on the practice range, and you'll get results. You'll hit the ball longer and straighter than you ever thought possible. And more importantly, you'll even get more enjoyment from this great game of golf. I'm Johnny Miller, and thanks for watching.